Hey, before I kick off the podcast, I just want to shout out Next Door Clothing. Next Door, a clothing brand based out of Bondi in Sydney. They're making really nice jeans and shirts and hats. So go and check out their full range at nextdoorsydney.com. They're also artists, so you can go and check out a range of art. They put on rad parties, and I love what they're doing. So nextdoorsydney.com for the full range. Do your followers reach out to you much?
All the time.
Okay. Well, this is for Clementine and Otis. So, start out with some shout outs today. A huge shout out to the surf apnea course. If you go to www.surfsurvival.com, it's the place to go to learn how to hold your breath and meditate. I mean, it sounds like a crazy concept, but Augusto Vegas and his crew have created this amazing course where you can get to find yourself, learn about your own body, and doing that through breath holding techniques that have been acquired by experienced free divers, big wave surfers, and yogis of all different types. Augusto is one of the most passionate humans I've ever met, and you've just got to do the Ocean Resilient course. I'm halfway through it right now, and he's already got me up to a 4-minute breath hold. It's absolutely amazing, and like I said, the self-confidence that it gives you when you know that you can find peace in the struggle of holding your breath, it's just amazing. And I'm someone that's never been able to meditate, but when I hold my breath, I feel like I find this whole new focus. So if you go to survivalapnea.com, so that's SURVIVAL, apnea, APNEA.com. And if you use code THT podcast at checkout, you'll get a 20% discount on the course. So get on it. Also, Indosol, as always, use the code THT at checkout. You know about these guys. If you use THT at checkout, you'll get a 15% discount. But forget the discount. It's all about helping the planet and looking good doing it. They're making footwear from recycled motor vehicle tires, and they look rad. I just got 2 pairs sent to me, and my last pair lasted me, I think, 7 years. And that would have been a motor vehicle tire that would have went into landfill. So that's what those guys are doing. They're on a mission. Next one is the Baby Riley GoFundMe. Now, it's such a wonderful cause that was created by Holly Manza from Yoga Co. and on behalf of parents Logan and Amy. Now, little Riley turned 1 last week on the 15th of December. Now, Riley suffered a traumatic brain injury at birth and needs funds to support her treatment. She's improving rapidly and her prospects look great, but we need to get her to this specialist centre where she can go to the next level and start to, make these brain connections that she really needs. So the family needs support. And if you get on the Baby Riley, that's RYLEE, GoFundMe and make a donation just in time for Christmas. So let's go.
I'm having a good time.
You are?
Yeah.
I can tell.
We are rolling too.
Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Today's guest is Mykim Tu. Mykim is a mother, entrepreneur, and a self-taught home baker who is based in Sydney, Australia. Now, I really value diversity on this podcast, and I'm so stoked to have Mykim on today. Mykim's baking creations can best be described as works of delicious art. In fact, her creations are so appealing. She's attracted a following of over 100,000 followers on Instagram. And I don't know, in this society, do we value that? I mean, it says something about what she's doing. Aside from her amazing baking, Mykim juggles her time between being a single parent of 2 amazing children and full-time work as a physiotherapist. So she's super mum. Today, Mykim is with me to share her journey, challenges, experiences, and hopes for the future. Mykim Tu, welcome.
Hey, Shannon, how are you?
Good. Thanks.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being on. It feels weird, but sometimes I just start to feel like I'm turning into a radio show host.
Yes, I thought you were.
Really?
Yes.
Do I give that vibe?
Definitely.
I don't want to. What's your favourite radio station?
No comment.
Today FM.
I just like to listen to the music.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. You I was checking out your website last night and I'm looking at these creations that you make, specifically in macarons.
Yes, I mean, I've been doing it for a little while now, about 5 or 6 years, but I mean, it's just a hobby and just grew from there, just something that I love to do and create. And from there, it just grew and grew. And I've just been so shocked by how popular it's been.
Yeah, like it's like I said, the things that you were doing with effectively just food, I had no idea. Like it's so foreign to me. So like what actually originally gave you the idea to even try? Like maybe give us a snapshot of like how you actually even wanted to try it in the first place.
So when I first started making them, it was actually just for my kids because my son used to love macarons and I was like, I like to bake things for the kids, making their birthday cakes and all those things that mums do. And I think from there, I didn't know anything about macarons. I just got the recipe and started making them and people was telling me it's very hard to make and I just was lucky and I created, something that was quite tasty and shared it at work. And then friends from work started, asking me to make things. And the funny story is the first shaped macarons that I made, I don't know if is this PG rated?
You can say whatever you want.
So they were
no one owns me.
The coquerons, which were penis-shaped macarons for a hen's party. They were the first obscure shaped macarons that I'd made.
Like it was popular.
Yes. So it was for a hen's party. So I made them in that shape and that really kind of, just for fun and that really I'm not going to say grew, but from that it really helped, just be able to help me, I guess, create more things and different things. A lot of kids' parties, all the little shapes that they have and seashells, mermaids, things like that. I think that the party scene's very popular, when Instagram took off that about 5 years ago. So from there, it just really grew. I had a lot of event planners and people who actually took on the work and really, wanted me to create something different and something unique. And I loved it. It's just one of those things. I mean, it takes a lot of time. It's not really, a money spinner, but I just love doing it.
Let's go back to the coquerons.
Yes.
No, like I'm serious. Like, was it when you started making them and then people actually wanted to buy them, was that the kind of thing that sparked your interest? Like, hang on, this could be something?
I never really thought that this could be something. I think that I just created different things for different people and their parties, and for fun, I did the coquerons. It wasn't someone requested it. It was actually just for one of my girlfriends for the hen's party, and
they actually requested that.
Yes. So,
yeah, I just had a thought. Like, women do, like, I've seen heaps of hens parties, and it's just penis everything.
Yes.
But Bucks parties, I don't see dudes cruising around with vaginas, like vagina straws.
Booby straws.
Do they do that? No,
I don't know.
I don't know. Let's not go down that road.
No.
Yeah, okay, it's interesting because like there's a real visual appeal to what you do.
Yes.
And do you feel that maybe social media and you starting a baking business of that type really worked well together immediately?
Yeah, it wasn't immediate, but it caught on very quickly. So, just a couple of little jobs that actually really, drove the whole thing really quickly forward. So, a big party here or there really drove that social media following. Just there were certain things that actually just got picked up by other people, big brands, and they were sharing things. So that really helped push the following forward. And like I said before, I think I mentioned that it's a very visual thing. Instagram's very visual, colours, shapes, things that are quite appealing to the eye. It's very easy just to like something like that. It catches your eye and, you go, oh, that's nice. And I think food is very popular at the moment as well. People love food and sweets.
Food
and
selfies?
Like food selfies, yes.
Yeah. Do you take food selfies? I mean, you take photos of your own product, right?
Yes.
But do you go to a restaurant and take a photo of your meal? Are you that person?
Yes, that's me.
I knew.
That's me. My
Why?
kids hate it because I want to share that with my followers. And you know what? I really want someone to give me a free meal sometime.
Does it happen?
Not yet, but I'm still waiting.
I think you could do it. Like my friend owns cafes in Bali, and often he'll have people with many followers,
Yep.
probably less than you, just hit him up and go, hey, give me a free meal. And he's like, no worries. And his business took off and he spent no money on marketing.
Yeah, well, that's
He
marketing.
did it all through influencers.
That's right. Well, that's the thing. I've done a little bit of social influencing work through my page as well, but
How does that work? Because
people just contact me and just say, look, do you want, it's a lot of it is more, they want to give you a freebie of some sort. And then if you put that on your page, people will more likely buy it or use it. But I'm trying to keep, quite true to brand in terms of, not trying to sell watches anymore and and headphones, things like that. So,
those type of people would ask you. So what? They just ask you to do a post.
Yeah. So certain posts at certain times, 3 posts, and they'll give you a free watch or free headphones or something like that.
Would you describe yourself as an influencer? Because I've never
hard
met.
to say.
I don't feel like I've actually ever met a proper influencer.
I think technically I could be because, the amount of following, and I've been paid for certain posts, but I haven't been doing a lot of that type of work recently just because, like I said, people don't like ads. They hate ads, and it really becomes not part of your ethos, I guess, or what you're doing. So now I'm doing stuff that's actually food related. So, sprinkles or people who are, who want to give me some colors and things that they'll actually use. And I actually really love those brands. So I don't want to just use any.
Ads are obsolete.
Yes.
It's all about covert product placement.
Yes.
Like, these Indosols, I mean, they're just so comfortable. But anyway, sorry. Code THT. What? No, but it's I'm sorry, I'm being
I can't wait for my Indosols. I heard about these.
you get a pair. Everyone gets a pair.
Okay, I can't wait.
They've actually they've given nearly every guest a pair. Dedicated. I love them. But just going, I guess I really look. I say this to my friend all the time. Like, I can't figure out social media. Like, I personally never really had I had a social media account, and then I actually stopped using it for about 5 years. I was like, I'm off it. You know, it was about around the time of the birth of my daughter. But then I was like, I'm starting a podcast, and everyone's like, you got to have a social media account, True. And then I must admit, I've become obsessed with it because I just feel like I can't figure it out. Like, I see various people with like thousands of followers, and I'm just like, and I'm dead serious here. What is your take on social media? Like, necessary? Is there an algorithm? Is there something you can work or manage?
Yes, definitely.
You think there is?
Yeah, definitely. I think that it is critical in this day and age now with business. You've got to have some sort of social media page or somewhere where people can go to see what you're offering. I mean, it is difficult because you can't put an ad in the paper. You don't have all those types of things anymore. This is your ad. So you've got to put your best photos up, and you've got to show the people what you're selling or what you've got to offer. Otherwise, how are people going to know about what you've got? So I think that's you've got to come across it with that type of framework, that type of mindset. But you want to show who you are as well on that page. So that's I do quite a varied mix of things. A lot of it is quite pretty looking, but then there's other things as well that it's quite real. Things that annoy me. I had one where I was just using a hammer and smashing the macarons because it was just so annoying, and that got over 500,000 views. Almost 750,000 views or something like that. It was
smashing
just
a macaron with a hammer.
Yeah, like a whole stack of them. I just kept smashing them, and I was just so peed off that they didn't work out. So you can't predict what's going to be popular, what's not going to be popular.
Is that what you've learned?
Yeah, that's been really one of the things as well. But what makes me, like when I see it, if that makes me feel good, then I'm happy to post that. So that's going to, because I think that a lot of people look at it and what resonates with them. So if they can relate to the page, or they find that that's quite, pleasing to the eye, then they'll like that. That's how I think. And a lot of it is to do as well with interaction. So the formulas and all the algorithms and that, it's about how much you interact with other people who do the same thing as you, who watch you, follow you, do those types of things. So it's about engaging as well. So that's the hard thing. You've got to spend a lot of time on it. At the beginning, I did, but it does take over your life a little bit. So it's about trying to balance it out after a while. So now I don't post every day. I used to, but you do have to at the beginning to be able to, people, so that people know you're there. Do
you think people want to know who you are? Like, it's a voyeuristic thing? Like, because the question...
Depends, because as a baker, I don't think people don't want to see your kids' photos. I had to cut back my page because, people would make some inappropriate comments or things like that. So you've got to separate what people want to see and what they don't want to see. So you've got to think of who are your followers. So as a, broadcaster, I don't know if they'd want to see, what you ate for lunch, what was your breakfast, how your run was. It depends on why people follow you. So people follow me for the baking and they like to see the behind the scenes. So they're the things that I put on my stories. But then, I don't want to flood them with my holiday pics, because you're
having
separate.
Such a good time.
I might
jealous.
put just one photo here or there, but that's not why they follow you. So it's about thinking about your audience, Yeah.
And you're thinking about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's become, second nature to me because I've got my own personal page and I feel that I don't want to overshare as well. So, there's some things I'd like to keep for myself or keep private or.
Well, that was my next question. Like, I guess when you've got a following as large as yours, do you start thinking more about security?
Definitely.
And the safety, your personal safety and the safety of your children?
Definitely. Yeah. I did post a couple of my kids' birthday shots or something like that, and then someone would make an inappropriate comment. So I felt, that was, I blocked them. But I just think you just don't know what people think out there. You just have no control over that. So you can only control what you've put out there. So unfortunately, that's the way the world is these days, It's
interesting.
Yeah. So it did worry me a little bit so that I've separated my page. So originally it was just one page. I had my kids and, a few different things on there with the macarons. But then I've taken those photos and I've got my own personal Instagram as well as the business one. So, I mean, that's just part of a learning thing.
Yeah. I think it needs to be taken serious. And I see a lot of people posting things about their children and I do it all. I do it too because it's like, they just mean so much to you,
Yes. And I do post of my children here and there, but it's just a bit more controlled.
Well, what's your motivation to post about your children on a page like that?
So, I mean, I might post something that, the last thing, what would I have posted? It's hard to say actually.
I mean, are you doing it because... From a marketing perspective, because you're like, this is part of my marketing strategy. I want people to, okay.
No, I don't think about that when I'm doing all my stories. I don't post them on my main page.
Yep.
So I'd post it maybe on my stories, but like if it's, a birthday celebration and, it's quite, I might put like love heart or happy birthday or something, my family, stuff like that. It's part of who you are,
Yeah.
So
I get it.
Yeah. But it would be one snap or something like that. It's just, from time to time, it's not the main part of my page. It's probably 5% of what I do.
You know how you said like making macarons started as a hobby?
Yes.
And then you said you had people who actually wanted to buy them off you.
Yep.
Why was that desire to maybe make a little bit of extra money on the side there in the first place?
Why did I want to make extra money?
And just before you answer that question, Are you comfortable? Do you want to lower that mic?
No, I'm good.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Just wasn't sure.
Why did I want to make extra money?
I'm just curious, if you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, I've always been a very driven person, coming from, I always talk to my partner about my povo background. We always jokes around about it, but, we came from a place where we had nothing. My parents came as migrants to this country, from Vietnam. So we came, I was only a baby when I came. I left when I was 14 months old. I came to Australia when I was about 2. So we were in refugee camps and stuff like that. So when we got here, we had nothing. So I think that's always been driven into me, that we want to make ourselves better and improve our lives, especially for our kids, So the opportunity to do something came from not only my interest in making the macarons, but also the stage that I was in my life. I'd just gone through a divorce, all my life. At that stage, my kids were very young and it just revolved around the kids. So, go to work, feed the kids, put the kids to bed, bath the kids, and then after they go to bed, I just felt like I had done nothing for myself. So the baking was something that I took on that was for myself. So when they were quite young, I would only bake at night time because I didn't want them to lose time with me. So when they went to bed, then I'd start baking. And when it could actually generate a little bit of extra money, then I thought, oh, even better. And I've got nothing to lose because I thought, well, if this business lasts 1 year, 2 years maybe, I'd be happy because there's not a lot of outlay. You know, you're just working from home, doing it in your own kitchen. And, you know, I thought, oh, well, then it started taking off a bit more. But, you know, money was never a big driver for me to do this. A lot of it was my own passion for what I do and also, you know, just to be able to be part of those celebrations, the parties, things like that. I'm just, you know, one of those types of people. I just think I like to be able to create something that's unique and you know, something that I love. So, yeah.
Is there any, like, do you have competition? Like, are there other like single migrant mothers making macarons in their spare time?
Yes, there's a lot.
Really?
Yes,
Are
definitely.
you like the best? You are, I can tell. It's all right. You're in a safe space.
I think, look, there's people out there, I swear, they are super talented, and the amount of work and time that they have to put into that, people have their own creations that's unique to them. And that's the thing. I find that there's some ladies out there, they do amazing creations that are like even more intricate and with more finer detail than what I do. But I like to do the teaching part of it as well. So I run workshops and teach other people, whereas some other ladies, they do a lot of big parties and they create macarons for, you know, so many different things, but they also do other little desserts as well. So they're all very super talented, and it's just the commitment to and the time. That's why I don't think of it as a massive competition like that, because, you know, those guys, they work so hard, and a lot of them are good friends of mine across social media. You know, yeah.
And
so we've become a network of people who bake and to do this. It's just amazing, like the community that actually does all this baking stuff. They're so supportive. You would not believe it. They're people I've never met before, but, you know, they message you or you message them, and, you know, I've had, like, you know, disasters, or, you know, I've said, oh, can you help me? I need this, and last minute someone will send me something, or, you know, it's amazing. Like, to think that you aren't really, you know, that's the good thing about social media, the connection that you can have with people who, you know, you barely know, but, you know, they can be so supportive and you know, it's such a great community, to be honest with you.
It sounds like you're inspiring one another as you go.
Definitely, yeah.
And it's like, it's a subculture. Like, I never really, it's so foreign to me. That's why I love it. Like, it's like an underground subculture of bakers. Like, I guess, like, my background is very much in, like, surfing and things like skateboarding, and they're subcultures.
Yep.
And it's just really, like, cool to hear that there's other little subcultures where there's little communities, like, doing their thing. Like, but I like the idea of what you were saying. It's like, it's your own, it's what you did when you had your own time away from the kids.
Yep.
Like, for you, was it like is it almost like a meditation where you can just tune out and you just focused on the process?
Yeah, definitely. So it always made me feel quite relaxed to do the baking. I mean, sometimes it got quite stressful when you know, obviously the jobs got bigger and there was a lot more to do. And, you know, it was just trying to control the workflow. But most of the time, I just enjoy baking. You know, it does make me feel less stressed. Just the process and just seeing them come out of the oven, and, you know, I'm so happy. Even now, I get it out of the oven and I'm like, oh,
like that's a good batch.
Yes,
there's no air bubbles in them.
That's it. No hollows.
I know stuff about macarons. Okay,
so yeah.
Yeah, because it definitely seems like that process is an art form that is never probably perfected, is it? Like, is there such thing as a perfect macaron?
I'm sure there is. Yes.
Have you made one?
That's the goal in life, I think. Just, you know, trying to ascertain the perfect macaron.
The quest for the perfect macaron.
That's it. There's pages and pages dedicated to it.
But I love what you said too about how, like, there's other people doing the same thing, but you bring your own, I guess, for lack of a better term, flavour to it.
Definitely,
and
yes.
your spin on it. I mean, someone said that to me just before I was going to start the podcast. I was like, oh, I really want to do it, and I'd started doing the planning. I was like, oh, I read there's 800,000 podcasts in the world. Like, it's a saturated market. No one wants to hear from me, and it's going to be like everyone else's. And a friend of mine said, listen, like, yes, there's going to be other people doing the exact same thing, but it'll never be the exact same because it's going to be your personal spin on it.
Correct.
And so you're constantly like reminding yourself of that it's all about what you want to do.
Yep, that's right.
And
I
that
think,
appeals to people.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that that's one of the things about standing out in the market as well, that it's you. No one can replicate you. And that's one of the main things about women in business as well that I've talked a lot to women about, that, you know, people are saying, oh, they're copying me or this and that, you know, that can be quite difficult to overcome, you know. But customers, they'll come to you and go, can you do this? It's someone else's work, but you want to do, but I like to put my own spin on it and do something that is unique. And when people see my photos, most of the time they'll know it comes from me. So that's what is, you know, that's like, what I think is one of the things
that's really a Mykim. That's a Mykim creation.
Yeah. So that's what I like for people to know, that this is what I do and this is what I love.
See, it's I can so relate. Like I see a surfer do a turn, and I don't even need to see their face. If they're a pro surfer that I've been watching for years, I'm like, I know exactly who that is just by the way he did that, you know. And it's the same thing with you. Yeah,
it's the same with the baking. So a lot of photos for people who are quite, you know, renowned in the industry, you can look at a photo and go, that's a definite, you know, somebody. Linda Lomolino, I think she's very unique. There's cake people that have a dark, you know. No, it's just the way that the page looks. You can tell that they have a unique way of presenting their photos, you know, just different things that they like to do, and you can just tell straight away.
Do many women in business reach out to you for advice?
I was part of a few different networks that, you know, women supporting each other in business and in the party industry and different things like that, even, you know, single mums, things like that. So I haven't had specific women reach out to me, but I've had a lot of bakers reach out to me to ask me, how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I perfect this? So I get lots of questions every day. So
do you share the information freely?
Yeah, most of the time, yes. With those types of things, yes. There's a lot of stuff on my page that I think that people follow for because they like to see the tips that I offer. I mean, I do sell my recipe, but it's only like $5 really, so it's not really going to break the bank. But you know, it's all about practice, and you know, a lot of the times it's really hard to be able to help people specifically because it depends on their oven. It depends on the humidity, like, you know, it depends on this, that. There's like a million factors that makes your macarons rise or not rise, you know. So
because, okay, like they're quite technical.
They are.
It's not like just baking a loaf of bread, right? Like,
that's right.
There's a lot more that goes into it. Like it's like getting that consistency and texture perfect before you put them in the oven.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to go back to sharing information. Like,
yes.
You'll share it freely. Well, like, if you said to me, like, some women, or you've had, not specifically women, but people have reached out complaining, like, so-and-so is copying me. And,
yes.
Like, do you try to keep it as positive as possible, or do you ever get caught up in situations where I'm like, yeah, they're copying me and try to call them out for it? Or do you just say, look, you do you, I'll do me, and...
It really depends because I've had people, there's copying and then there's copying. There's copying where people have stolen my photos and then said that that's their work. That's I call that out.
That's not cool.
That's not cool. But then there's people who will do the same thing, and that's fine with me. I think most of the time at the beginning you'd want a little bit of credit to say, look, this was inspired by somebody, so-and-so, Aurelio Sweetbox, you know. But then, later on, I think the market is so big that once it gets past that, you've got to be proud that you've developed something that's across the world now that people are doing. So, you can't go, oh, no, you can't do that. You know what I mean? It's pretty crazy. So it is, yeah. So, you just be proud of what you do. And like you said, you do you and they do them.
And is it almost a compliment really though?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, except if they're actually stealing your content.
Oh, yeah, that's different.
That's stealing.
That's a different.
That's not copying. I see that as stealing.
Yeah, that's different.
It's just so common these days.
Yeah, amazingly so, and people get away with it. So
yeah. Like I'm going to steal some of your pictures off Instagram when I promote your episode. But I got your consent, so that's all right. Is that all right?
That's fine.
Just like going back to, you said that your family moved over here as migrants.
Yes, correct.
And were living in refugee accommodation or
so
camps?
Originally when we first, we fled the country. We fled Vietnam and we were in refugee camps in Malaysia. and then we were lucky enough to be sponsored to come to Australia. So, we were given that opportunity, and I think that's my parents' wish for us, that we would be successful here. I mean, the land of opportunity, people always say that, but really, you can't really get more than what we have had, just to work hard, to be able to work hard and be able to succeed from that. I think that's one of the things that we're just so grateful for.
So your parents were fleeing war?
Well,
that was post-war?
Post-war, yeah.
Post-Vietnam?
Yes, yeah.
What was it? The standard of living, I'm sure, would have been quite terrible post-war. Were they fleeing that quality of living, striving for a better standard of living, or were they fleeing because they're in danger?
So I think it was a bit of both. That it was uncertainty with the communism and the things that was happening around them. So, in Vietnam, that towns were being burnt down and businesses were being taken over by the government. So if you had a bit of money, you'd want to go because you just had that uncertainty. I think my parents, I was only a baby, and they wanted, my grandfather wanted what was best for us. So, they fled and they went in all different directions. So my grandparents ended up in Canada. I've got aunties in America, in Switzerland. I've got family all over the world, France. So I've been quite lucky that way, but I've got a few aunties in Australia as well. So we've still been able to grow up with some family, and then, we've reunited since then as well, which has been so amazing, but it was, at that time a need, but I just can't imagine now what it would be like for my parents to have fled, on those boats and then face all the things that they did, because there was pirates and they got, taken, and all these different stories that I've heard, just horrific. I can't even imagine having had to go through that. And I was only a baby.
Excuse me. Do you have any there's zero recollection? Let's go right back. What are some of your earliest childhood memories? Because I was actually, sorry to cut in, but I was actually thinking about it the other day, because I've been thinking a lot about my children, because my son's 2, and I'm starting to really think about what's he remembering, and I started going back, what were some of the first things I remember? And I couldn't really honestly, I couldn't really remember anything till after 5.
Yeah, I think I remember a couple of things when I was about 3 or 4, but I was already in Australia. So all my memories are from here. So I remember living with my cousin, my mum and my dad and my uncle and auntie. We all lived in one house, and, there was a TV, and, I remember there was a mouse that ran across the house somewhere, and, all these little things that I remember. But, and playing with my cousin, things like that as we grew up. So they're one of the memories that I have.
So fond memories.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yes. I mean, I think we discussed it briefly before, like a povo childhood that I had. But, everything was just amazing in terms of the relationships I had, the closeness that I had with my family, my cousins.
I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Yep.
Describe what povo, I guess, refugee Australian or new Australian looks like. How would you describe that explicitly? Give me some examples. Because I'm asking you this question because I feel like many Australians wouldn't quite understand what povo looks like.
I guess things like going to school and then you wouldn't have the uniform. You'd just be wearing a make-do uniform, or my mum would buy some fabric and try to make it similar to the one that your friends had, that type of thing. I think that I always felt different. But, I mean, growing up in this community has been really amazing, because a lot of similar migrant families as well. So, in the area that I live, it's
Western Sydney.
Yeah, southwestern Sydney. We've all, a lot of migrants as well. So, but you always did feel that, I couldn't go to any after-school activities. My parents, I wanted to do karate, I wanted to do piano, I wanted to do guitar, all these things I wanted to learn, but my parents said that's too expensive. I remember when I was 5, I went to Kmart, and, I said to Mum, can I buy this doll? And she says, how much is it? And I said, $2, $5. She goes, oh, you have to find something under $2. So I found this Barbie doll that had no hair in the middle of her head. So I was like, that's my definition of povo.
It's interesting. I mean,
never having a Barbie doll when I was a kid. So
it's interesting. I'm sorry to hear that. But I mean, it goes back to, I mean, what would that look like if you were still in Vietnam?
Yeah, very true. And you know what? I've been there recently, and the kids there, even though materialistically they don't have these things, they are so happy. They are amazingly happy. They're so content with their lives. And even the people that are living there, the simple life, they're so happy. They don't want to come. They don't feel like they have to come here because it's a better life. They're happy with what they've got. They're content, And that's the thing. I think that's the difference about here. We end up becoming so materialistic that, people just don't get what it is to value, life and the things in life. Yeah. So when I was a kid, I wanted all these things, materialistic things. But like I said to you, what do I remember? I remember playing with my cousins on the weekends, going over their house. We'll play on the street, ride our bikes, do all these things, So
you don't really remember.
I don't regret,
the material possessions like the toys, or except
we
for
didn't
the Barbie
have any.
Yeah,
but definitely. They're the things I remember the most. The times that I had with my cousins
and cherish.
Yeah, definitely.
I just can't believe that you were saying that stuff about the comparison with countries and communities that have very little. I mean, I say it all the time, and I've seen it in Indonesia.
Yep.
And a lot of people on the podcast have said it too. Like, it's like when people seem to have less, they seem like they're happier. And my headphones have just gone out again. I can't hear anything, but I'm back. And and you've just said it again, and it's just like, like I kind of feel like sometimes in our society and culture that we're drunk on freedom. Like we just have had too many concessions and too much freedom, and we're drunk on it, and then we expect more and more, and then we're dissatisfied constantly, and then you look at the data around mental health, and depression and anxiety are just quadrupling every year, and the people that are being medicated for that stuff. And I mean, does it come back to just this mass consumer mentality that we have? We have to consume.
Yes. Yep.
Anyway, there's my rant.
But I agree with that. No, it's true. The more we have, the more we want. And I think that's one of the things we need to be mindful of,
Well, like you said, school, sometimes having a school uniform was challenging. But what about as time progressed? Like, how would you describe your high school years?
My high school years? Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said to you before, the community that we grew up in was really amazing. I think that my friends, we all were very similar backgrounds. I mean, I didn't know exactly what country some of them were from. It's not something we discussed, but we were the same, I think that's what people want. They want that feeling of fitting in, and I had really good friends growing up, and some of them are still my friends now. So,
and you felt that? You felt like you fit in this community. Okay, what about when you left your safety area?
Yeah, so
I don't say safety area, but socially safe area.
Yep. So when I went into uni, that I felt really different from a lot of my uni student friends because it was very Anglo, white kids and people who had all these luxuries in life, like all these lessons after school that I just felt that they were already ahead by so much, and they had all these opportunities that I never had. But, you kind of find your little niche as well. You find a couple of people who are really good. You don't have to have 100 friends, a couple of really good friends here, and just getting through uni. And I think at the end of the course, I really found that, everybody wants the same thing. They want to be able to succeed in what they're wanting to do, So I think that's the common ground. Yeah, so I think, going back to when we were talking about, high school, it was the transition from primary school to high school that was probably the hardest because, that age is very awkward,
Well, I mean, it's when you're trying to find out who you are and where you fit in the big scale of things. Because, And if you don't mind me asking, do you feel like you've ever experienced racism?
Definitely.
Really?
Oh, yes.
And again, what did that look like? If you don't mind sharing.
Yeah. So when I was younger, there would be we had the Aussie kids in the street. They would tease you, say mean things about how you look, what you're wearing. They would say that we would be wearing pajamas. Which a lot of Asians are wearing pajamas when they come home. So that's just the way that they are.
What do you mean wearing pajamas?
So your home clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you get home, you get out of your school uniform, and Asian people, they that's just the way that they live.
What,
I
straight
think.
into pajamas from school?
Yeah.
Like at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon?
Yeah, because we don't have day clothes.
Gotcha.
Because otherwise it's like, that's a lot of clothes, you know. So you just wear those clothes that you have, you know. So, yeah, and then we get teased for that. You know, I got teased for watching Chinese movies. So I stopped. I got teased, you know, just for different things, you know, just being different. And even some of those kids were Asian kids who would tease me, you know. So
do you speak, are you multilingual or bilingual?
I am, yes.
Vietnamese?
I speak Cantonese.
Cantonese?
Yep, and I speak a bit of Vietnamese now.
Gotcha.
Yep. Yeah, because I grew up with hearing it, but I never spoke much of it. But because I work in the community with the Vietnamese community, a lot of older people who don't speak, I've just been able to practice and you know, be able to communicate with them.
In your job as a physiotherapist?
Correct, yes.
So you went to university.
Yes.
So high school was interesting, sort of fun?
Yeah, I was
Confusing?
I was a very studious person, you know. I always wanted to do well, try to satisfy my parents, you know. That was one of those things.
Well, that was a question. Is like,
Yes.
Was that desire to do well, was that instilled by your parents? And did you feel like you owed it to your parents?
Yeah, I did. I felt that it was instilled in me by my parents, but I'm also very quite self-driven. So if, you know, the expectation was there, but I also put that expectation on myself. You know, I don't know when the path crossed over from them, passing it over to me, but I definitely carried the baton to expect a lot from myself as well.
A little bit off topic, but
Yep.
did your father, was he involved in the Vietnam War?
Yes, he was.
He was?
Yes.
A survivor of it?
Yes, he was. So he fought with the Allies. Yes.
And did it, I mean, again, whatever you're comfortable with, but did it have an impact on him, you know, maybe mentally or emotionally?
Yeah, definitely. Because, you know, one of his brothers was in the war as well. And you know, he doesn't talk about it a lot, but when I was a lot younger, he did mention little things about it. He doesn't talk about it, but he made some really good friends there. And, you know, I'm sure it affected him. I don't think anyone goes through war and doesn't get affected, you know. Yeah. So.
And didn't really affect your family life?
My dad was always very strict. I don't know, I mean, if that's a personality thing or to do with him being in the war or not, but, you know, traditional Vietnamese type of father who's very strict, makes, you know, he wants you to do your best, try to get the best out of you. You know, 99% is never good enough, 100%, that's it, you know. Yeah. So the pressure was there, but like I said, you kind of take that pressure on yourself as well after a while.
Yeah.
So...
Do you think it was a bad thing though, that pressure, or a good thing?
No, it depends. Some people don't tolerate it well. And, you know, now I don't think I'd really look forward to any exams or going to school or any sort of, you know, things that push me that hard, because I get so much anxiety with those types of things coming up. But I think it was a really good thing because it drove me to try to be more successful, definitely, you know, having that pressure.
It's really... it's a contrast to the life I had. My father was from a migrant family from Malta.
Yep.
And he was moved over here when he was a baby at 1, you know. But, you know, there was an immediate disconnect from Maltese culture for him. His family were like, you're Australian now, we don't do anything Maltese.
Yes.
You know, and he can't speak, I don't think he can speak any of the language, and we weren't doing any sort of cultural practices in the house. Yep. And, I mean... I guess when I was younger, I didn't really think much about it, but now I'm older. You know, I actually wish I had more connection to that, because I went to Malta in my, I think, late 20s, early 30s, and it was the weirdest feeling because I didn't feel like I identified with the Maltese, but I have gone through periods where I feel like I don't identify with Australia either, because like I've got a bit of a, you know, I've got a Maltese surname, maybe skin's a little bit darker, dark hair, and I used to get called a wog a lot. Yep. And I'm like, I don't get it. I'm from here. I'm born here. Aussie. I don't know anything about Malta. Yeah. And then my Maltese cousins, who were like distant relatives over there, they were like disappointed in me. Yeah. And I was like, it wasn't even my choice. I was like, I don't speak any. Like, you don't speak Maltese. I'm like, Nah. Like, and I felt really bad about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's been one of the things, like I was talking to you, people teasing me about, watching Chinese movies. So I try to dissociate myself a lot from the culture when I was at that age. Stop watching the movies. I didn't want to be seen outside speaking my language because, you're not assimilating. There's this word called assimilation.
Yeah, I know the word.
I find it really difficult. It's almost like you have to throw away what you know or what your family, your heritage, your background, and then you just got to copy and bring on something that's not really who you are. So nowadays I think that's almost a taboo word,
I think so.
Yeah.
Like, did you ever have periods of time where you felt lost between cultures?
Definitely, yes.
Yeah.
Especially, like I said, in my uni days, because there's a lot of Australians, and I think that I was always trying to be more Aussie so that they would like me. That was one of the things I thought. Especially when I was, just finished my uni degree, went overseas, I went to the UK and they're like, oh, who's that Sheila? Because a lot of the, because I've got a very strong Australian accent. So, people.
You're Westie.
Exactly. Sorry. So people have said that to me.
I say that to all my Westie friends.
People have said that to me, when I went to uni, and I probably just not put it on, but I was, I went with the flow and I wasn't, I try to be just that, I didn't want to be too much of, anything that would make me different, so I could be accepted. But I also didn't mind being a bit different in terms of, she's the Asian chick, that's the Aussie Asian chick, So I don't know. It was just, like you said, it's because you don't belong here, but then you also don't belong there.
Yeah.
So you kind of go in this middle section here and,
Like to this day, I get asked, even just yesterday, I go, what's your background? Where are you from? With a name like that, where are you from? Like, well, I'm from Australia. I live in Wollongong. Like, what? It's like, like, well, what's your parents? I'm like, does it matter? Ben, and I think you summed it up perfectly. Like, why is there a bit of a expected or, I guess, imposed notion of, okay, you got to throw away what your culture. I think that's what creates this beautiful tapestry of diversity in our country. That's our strength.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
And my daughter asked me the best question the other day. We were eating sushi. And she's like, this is awesome. And we're in a sushi train and the sushi chef was there and he was Japanese and he kept he was speaking in Japanese and she knows other languages. And she said, Dad, is this Japanese food? I was like, yeah. And she goes, well, okay, what's Australian food then? I went, and my only response was like, pavlova, sausage sizzle. Like where would we be without this diversity?
Yes, correct.
We wouldn't have all this amazing food and
that's it.
Music. And I know it's very obvious, but
yeah. But I think, like you said about the culture now, Australian culture is actually very diverse with the food. It's very what they call fusion, Australian fusion, or we've got meat and 3 veg with all these other influences coming in, and everything used to be quite bland, and now everything's it's got a touch of Middle Eastern, it's got a touch of Asian food. You've got so many different things, and I think that's what makes this country so unique and so amazing.
Is food like the ganache that binds everything together?
That's such a great analogy.
I think food like the catalyst that brings all the cultures together. It must
not just the cultures, but I think it already brings people together as families. That's one of the things that I think people have really realised in the last 10 years with the MasterChef and the whole cooking phenomenon. People have been cooking for centuries, but now it's more of one of those things that comes to the forefront. I think that it's one of the things that brings people together, but then from different cultures, not just within your family, just sharing a meal and doing something so simple like that.
Yeah, like the act of eating is just such a small part of the experience.
That's it, yeah.
It's much more than that.
Yeah. And I think that's what's brought the party scene to the forefront as well. People are doing these lavish parties because they want to share that, making these spectacular things, all these boards full of food and, dessert tables and things like that. I think that people really like to show off and try to, bring people in and show them what they've got.
Yes.
So I think that's why the industry has taken off so much in the last 5 years.
It seems that way. Seems that way. I mean, the MasterChef phenomenon is such a good example of that.
Yeah.
Maybe you should start a baking show. You should start a baking podcast.
Baking podcast? I don't even know what
I'd talk about baking.
Talk about baking for how long?
But you're quite niche though, aren't you? In the baking.
Yeah. Yep. So most bakers, people who bake macarons, they can bake cakes, can bake everything, most things anyway. But I like to be, like you said, niche, I guess, specialize in that area because, that's what's brought me my following and, people are attracted to that. So why steer away from there?
Did you find your niche or did your niche find you?
Yes, my niche found me, definitely. Yeah. Yes.
So cool.
Yeah.
Because people often say that to me, what's your niche for the podcast? Like, what's your market? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm hoping they'll find me.
Yeah, well, your niche, isn't it, to do with diversity and you want to look at...
Well, again, it's like you. Like you had a personal interest in baking.
Yep.
And for me, I just really, really enjoy hearing people's stories.
Yep.
Like I love it. Like I was obsessed with autobiographies as a young person. Like I just want to read autobiographies. That's all I would read.
Yep.
I could read, And then as time's gone on, when podcasts became popular, there's a lot of podcasts with people telling their stories. And I love it. I think it's because, you find things you can relate to. And I think maybe that's with you. People can relate to the baking, but then they might relate to the colours that you pick or the actual presentation of what you do. And that speaks to them personally. But, I know. Yeah, it's journeys. So, but anyway, listen, university days.
Yes.
Confusing?
Confusing. Just still trying to find yourself, like you said. I think in those days, in the early, just out of school and straight into uni, you really, I was just lucky that I fell into physio. It was, I always is one other thing that chose me rather than me choosing it. One of my friends, I was trying to look at my list of things that I wanted to do when I went to uni. And one of my friends told me his brother, he's a physio, and he drives a nice car. I thought, okay, I'll put that down as my first pick. I don't really know what physios do. Maybe some sports stuff, some massage. I put that down and I put a couple of things like accounting, all these really random things, and I just happened to be lucky enough to get in because that year all the marks dropped just by a tad and I scraped through and I was like, got through to physio, my first choice,
Was that a Bachelor of Exercise Science?
Bachelor of Applied Science.
Applied Science,
yes. Yep. Yeah, so I was just lucky that I fell into it and being in it, if it was just sports and massage, I probably would have hated it, but there's so much diversity within that field as well of what I do. Yeah. Physios work with kids, they work in hospitals, they work in aged care, rehab. There's just so many things that you can do as a physio, not just, sports and massage. So, I that's really been one of my things that I find very satisfying. I mean, a lot of people said, with the baking, why don't you just quit your physio work and just keep baking, But then I think there's a fair few things that are holding me back, I guess obviously being a single parent, you want that consistent income. The baking, it's up and down. I mean, it's not bad, but it's relative to how hard you work. So the more you bake, obviously the more money. But the physio work, it's satisfying. So you're helping people, you're changing their lives. So going from, people who can't walk and then, after a period of therapy that they're able to achieve some goals that, you change their life. The people that I learn so much from as well, that they learn from me. So a lot of the aged care people that I work with, they've got so many stories to tell and they've lived such an amazing life. So I really enjoy that part of my work as well. So, it's not something that I'd want to give up. I actually was saying, I'm thinking of picking back up another day of doing that. So just doing a little bit more of that work because it's really needed. Healthcare is one of those areas. And I do feel for the oldies, the aged care is one of the areas where it's probably the least funded. Kids, people want to spend a lot of money, donating to kids' hospitals and all these things. But, aged care is one of the areas that people forget and we're all going to get old. So, it's one of the neglected areas. It's not a trendy thing to be, to be sponsoring, you know.
You know what? I'm embarrassed to say. Like, yeah. And my mother worked in a nursing home for 25 years in administration and other stuff. And I'm like, yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And you just reminded me of that. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's very poorly funded and people, it's not a glorifying job. It's one of the most thankless jobs, but those people are so amazing that work there, you know, in those homes. I mean, they treat people like they're their own families. So, you know, that's one of the things I think really needs to be probably brought more to the limelight. Yeah.
Good one.
So,
I'm so glad you brought it to the limelight because, I needed to hear it. So thanks.
Yeah.
Wow. So post-uni,
Yes.
I'm always really curious about that first year after uni. Like, what was it like for you? So you finished uni. Did you go straight into work or did you have a period of like feeling lost or confused or?
No, I think I was quite lucky again. With our degree, we do it's not an internship, it's called a first year grad rotation. So we get sent to hospitals and we kind of rotate through different areas. So we kind of assist with that, but also assist with the hospital rotations, but also it gives you an idea of what you want to do. What do you like? So if you're doing a bit of pediatrics, a bit of ICU work, a bit of rehab, outpatients, a lot of different things, and you get a bit of a feel for it. So I did that rotation and, you know, I really loved the work and the people that I met there. But, you know, just meeting those people, and I know that physio was a great stepping stone for people to be able to travel. That was one of my things that I found that a lot of the girls there had done like not a gap year, but done the working holiday. So that was my goal after I'd met a few people there in my first job, that I wanted to finish about a year and a half and then take off and do a working holiday in the UK. So, nice. You know, at that time I just found very free. You know, I was really happy and just happy to be able to travel. I really wanted to see the world and just experience different things, you know. That was
nice.
Yeah. So
best time of your life?
Yes, one of the best times. Oh, definitely. I mean, just amazing people that you meet along the way, the life, the characters, you know, just living out of a suitcase for a while as well.
Day by day.
Yeah, you know, it's and also living amongst the people rather than just being a sightseer and a tourist. That was what I really wanted. And, you know, getting to know the community, but also, you know, doing the work that I do with the physio and really meeting people on the ground, I guess. And that was really amazing, you know.
So cool.
Yeah, so I did that for 2 years and you know, that was just one of the most amazing experiences. Yeah, definitely would recommend it for anyone in that age group, you know, in their 20s. You just, you know, it's an experience that you can never get anywhere else or doing anything else.
So good. I love it. Like I actually... because I'm a high school teacher, I often encourage kids to take a gap year. I mean, I know you did it after uni, but like I just think it's the best thing. I did it. I took a gap 5 years before I went to uni. I just wasn't ready. Yeah. Like my head was just all over the place. But then I went to uni and was really focused because I took that time. But so if you don't mind me asking, like, how much longer after that period of time did kids come into your life?
So pretty soon after that. So my back then my partner, he came overseas after I'd left for a little while. He came and joined me, and then pretty much after 2 or 3 years we came back to Australia, bought a house, got married, had kids. The whole you know fairy tale book thing. So, you know, at the time you think that it's amazing and it's such a, you know, different time of your life. It's one of those magical times that you just think that nothing can ever go wrong or you know, things are just in that space, I think, at that time. But, you know, things change, life changes.
People change.
Grow
apart.
That's right. So, you know, I don't really talk a lot about that part of my life because, you know, obviously it was very hard going through that separation, divorce, when you've got very, very young children. My kids were only 4 and 1 at the time. So I found that, you know, very difficult, you know, going through that. So it was just one of those things I think that you have to just keep going through. You just got to wake up, step one foot after the other, you know, just got to go through it because, you know, that's the only way that you could get through it. That's how I found it, you know. I just found that I just had to do all the things that you need to do for the kids every day just to kind of get through each day. I knew I was going to get out the other side, but it was just a matter of time. So
I think there'd be a lot of people that need to hear that.
Yeah.
We were talking about this at the start. Like, it's actually more common than not common.
Yeah, and, it's true. Yeah,
and I think it's a lot of people battle that.
Yeah,
and I think it'd be really healing for a lot of people to hear what you just said in terms of that one day at a time, one foot in front of the other.
That's correct. Yeah. So, like I said, the kids were so young, and I think that, I was very lucky to have my family support me, my mum and dad. And I never thought that they would, because coming from that culture, divorce is like, taboo, one of those things that, you shouldn't get divorced, you get married and that's it, But they saw how unhappy I was, and they really wanted to, care for me and my kids, and, they supported me every step of the way. So I've been very fortunate that, it's because of them that, I was able to do other things, like in terms of continue to work as well as, start the business, because, they've supported me throughout that time. So, very lucky to have them around. So, yeah. I mean, a lot of people don't have that. So that's why I do understand that I'm fortunate.
Like you acknowledge that.
Oh, definitely, yeah. But, there's so many women out there who are also struggling with those types of things, but, they still do it. So, I think that that's one of the things a lot of women feel, that they are so financially dependent on their partner that they can't leave, So it's one of those things that I'm quite passionate about as well, supporting other women. And that's one of the things that's quite surprising in all this time, that I have old friends come up to me and ask me about that, because they're going through a difficult time with their partner and they don't know what they should do and what advice I have for them. That's probably more,
Do you give advice, or do you share your experience?
Yeah, I share my experience. I don't tell people that, you've got to leave or anything specific, but, if there's a situation where they don't feel safe, I would tell them not to turn around.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, that's more common than you think as well. And that's so scary to me, to think that there's a lot of women out there putting themselves in danger, because they feel they can't leave. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I said, I think a lot of people would really benefit from hearing that. Since you've actually started to, I guess, grow a bit of a profile, a public profile.
Yep.
Like, do women reach out to you random women reach out to you with those sort of questions? Or have you not divulged that type of information about yourself?
Yeah, I have shared that information about myself, but it's not something that I talk about very often, and it's not something I feel that I need to. Does that make sense? Like, I think it's not,
because it doesn't,
doesn't define who I am. It's not just me. I'm not I don't like people going, I'm a single parent, so I'm struggling, because there's a lot of women out there who aren't single parents and they're struggling just as much. So that's why I think that's just a label, and, that doesn't mean anything. So, that's why I think I don't like the label. So I don't go to everyone, look, I'm a single parent, I'm struggling, because I've got my parents, I've got people around me, my friends, a family, people who are very supportive as well. So, there's women out there who have a partner who's unsupportive and they don't have anyone else. And I've seen that. So, what are they going to say? I'm a parent to a loser of a husband, so there's people struggling, and that's the thing. You just don't know what they're going through.
That relates to like everyone. You don't know what's beneath the surface with a lot of people, and things could look good on the outside.
Oh, a lot of times.
and people really, like, they want to maintain that too. Even like some people even lie to themselves, I think, about everything's fine when it's not.
Yep.
And I like that you mentioned the whole labeling thing. I think when you put labels on things, it does limit your mindset.
Yep.
Like, I'm only this. I'm just a single parent, so I can't do this. Like it.
Yep.
I think it's like almost like a negative affirmation, and you can turn it around and turn it into a positive affirmation. Like, I can do these things. That's really, really cool. And your children are now a little bit older.
Yes.
How has being a parent from when they were young to now they're in their teen years, here's my question. What's more challenging? Children under 5 okay, or children in their teens?
It's
What
very,
would you have? Like if you had a choice to choose between
you can't choose, I think, I think that when they're so young, it's just hard because they're so time consuming in terms of they're not as independent. You've got to do everything for them. But the gratitude and the time and the love that you get back is different, It's that innocence and that, less attitude as well. As they get older, they're more independent and it's great because you've got more free time, but then they're also not as close sometimes. I just find that, so it's very different. You can't compare.
Are you a strict parent? Like your dad?
Oh, no, not as strict as my dad. No way. Yeah. But I mean, I've got boundaries and I think all parents do. And it's about trying to make sure those boundaries stay where they are is, it's the hard thing, Yeah.
I was just thinking actually, like as you were speaking then, I'm like, it's coming up to Christmas in like what, a week?
A week, yeah, just a little bit more.
And I'm like, it's kind of really timely that I've got someone who's passionate about food on, and you've just like reinforced the whole importance of communal eating and cooking together and talking and bonding during those times because they are bonding times.
Yes.
Like the kitchen's the most important place in the house, right?
Yeah, definitely.
You think everyone needs to remember that this Christmas?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, it's the whole time it takes so long to prepare your meal and you can eat that meal in 20 minutes and you're like so full already. So, it's definitely the time that it takes to prepare, the love that goes into making the food. And I always say that, the macarons always turn out better when you showed love, care and respect for them. When you rush it and you're like, I'm so tired, I just got to do it. It's like, it doesn't turn out, and I think it's like they know.
Are you done with cockeroons though? Like, are they done?
Cockerons.
You don't do them anymore. You've graduated past them.
Oh, I've done, an extra couple layers on that. So
what do you mean?
With different additions to the basic ones.
Oh,
so,
what?
Yeah.
There's like
I don't want to. That's too far.
This is a PG program. It's not. Actually, I think this is the first episode where someone hasn't sworn the whole episode. Thank you.
That's okay.
Let's see if we can make it to the end. Well, look, it's been epic. It's been well over an hour, and it's just been such a pleasure. Like again, I say this nearly every week. Like I sometimes just go into this zone in the conversation. I don't even know. Like it's like I blacked out. It's like, oh my God, it's been an hour.
Yeah.
But I've really been like intrigued. And I mean, there's just so much to unpack there in terms of your life. Like, and I'm sort of sitting with you now and I see a very like content and happy person, like on the surface. I don't know what's below the surface, but you get a sense for it. And I just love that you're someone who has a passion too, and you're sharing that. And I'm really attracted to that sort of person. I think it's wonderful. So
thank you.
Really thank you for your time. But I'm not done with you yet.
Okay.
I ask all guests to come to the podcast with a cause they want to support or advocate for. And I kind of forgot to mention it at the start when we were talking, but are you aware of, have you got anything you'd like to raise awareness about? Like it could be something you've already spoken about.
I mean, no, it's nothing that there's a couple of causes and it was very hard to kind of narrow it down. And I was like, well, if it's a financial thing, then I would like to,
I'm going to write it down.
That's okay.
Yep.
There's probably two causes that are probably nearest and dearest to me. I've got to actually probably find the actual organisation. But
fine.
So
I can do that.
The Autism
Yes.
New South Wales one.
I'll find that.
Yep. So I'd strongly support that because my daughter was diagnosed with autism not long ago. So she's 15 now, but she was only diagnosed when she was 14. So quite late in her life. But, she's had difficulties with it for a long time. And the other cause I'd really like to kind of shout out to, I guess, would be brain cancer. So I had a cousin when I was 12. She passed away from it. So, and it's what I've heard more recently. I didn't know anything about it. Even at that age when she passed away, I I didn't know that's what she had. I knew she was sick. So it wasn't until a lot later in life that I knew what had caused it, because I saw it in the paper and I thought, oh, okay. But I didn't realise that so many people who have got brain cancer actually do pass away. So, young kids, and it's one of the highest mortality rates. So it's something that, a lot of people have tried to bring a bit more awareness to lately. Yeah.
Okay, well,
they're the two causes that I feel most passionate about.
Awesome. And I can actually put a variety of links there, especially for the brain cancer one. I mean, Cancer Council is quite an obvious one, but there's also a few others. So I'll definitely look up the Autism New South Wales one.
Yep.
Just, I can't help myself, but I mean, having a child with autism, how have you adapted to that? I know you said the diagnosis was only recently, but I mean, how's that? Is that a big question to go down in terms of the challenges that it's posed for you over the years, or?
I mean, she's definitely had. It's been very challenging. It's not
like
something that you
way?
just pick up your whole life. It's not something that affects one aspect of your life. It's who they are. Her personality. It makes up who she is. But then, the difficulties with some of the communication and the behaviours, and trying to relate to others. It's been battle since, she was a young child, and, that's one of those things. But, of course, as your own child, you will always try to adapt or try to provide for her or provide for them as much as you can to make sure that they get the best out of life that they can. And I mean, same as our parents did for us, bringing us here and trying to make sure that we had a good life and that we would be able to make the best of ourselves. And I think we want the same things for our children, and, we want to adapt and change things so that we can get them to relate to the world better, and for the world to be able to understand them better.
Yeah. Wow. So, well, thank you. And I'll put links in your show notes. So you can find some links to these causes that Mykim is advocating and supporting. You can find these in her show notes, which are on www.terriblehappytalks.com. And you can also choose the platform that works best for your device, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, Buzzsprout, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and iTunes Radio. And there's links to those on the website as well. Now, listen, one more thing. I've got a present for you. I've got two presents.
Do I get my sandals now?
Well, they're not here. But our friends at Indosol, because I don't know your shoe size. Our friends at Indosol, and you can pick a style, mate. We'll get on the website in a long. But our friends at Indosol will be sending you a pair of flip-flops or slides made from recycled motor vehicle tyres. And, they're pretty cool. I like them. They're comfy. But I'm also got a sticker for you, and I've just got to quickly get it. It's in my bag. I'm so disorganised. Sorry. Just say something. Say something interesting.
Do you know any jokes? Anybody?
Oh my God. So hopeless. I'm a mess. I'm a dead set mess. I swear to God. The other present I've got for you, and don't get too excited, it's the THT Circle logo sticker. I give them to all guests that have been on the show. So there's now only 86 of them.
Yes.
So thank you, Mykim.
Thank you, Shannon.
It's been like such a pleasure. Seriously.
It's been amazing. Thank you.
And just for me, like, again, it's out of my comfort zone. Like, I mean, I really just want to talk to surfers and skateboarders. I thought I did when I started this thing, but now I just find people like you so inspiring. So thank you.
Thank you.
Now, is there anything you want to finish on, something profound? Come on.
I thought that was quite profound before. So.
Yeah, it was. I'm really trying to milk the profundity out of you. That's profound. No, nothing profound.
Nothing else.
Have you lost your headphones?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, boy, I'm having bad headphone night. Let's get out of here.
Okay.
All right. Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas, Mykim.
Thank you, Shannon.